January was a month where I went back to my roots, had a few pleasant and not so pleasant surprises, but overall it was a mid-month. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. And I'm talking about my books, but also the weather here in Portugal. It has been storm after storm after storm, and even for a person that loves rain like me, it's a little too much. Hi, I'm Juliana and welcome back to another video. So this is my first time doing my monthly reviews here in this square journal, which I'm so happy with. It was such a great experience and I'm loving the size. And also, if you want to see how the initial setup and my challenges are going, I'm going to have a reel, a short and a TikTok every month where I show you those. So if you want to see them, go check out my socials and also the short here on YouTube. For the monthly cover spread, I had a totally different idea for the theme, and I changed my mind after I received the rewards for Runa Maruti's Patreon. I've been using her stuff for I don't know how long, but I really love her style and she makes incredible themes. So for January, I'm going with these winter fairies. It's her snowflake ballet theme and it's perfect for a winter month. But before we start, I'm just going to show you quickly what I did with leftover spreads from the 2025 reading journal, and I decided to make spreads for each book series that I completed in 2025, which were the Maple Hill series, the Ruina's Love trilogy, the Souls trilogy, and the Never After series. It was honestly so fun, and I actually challenged myself to only use stuff from my reusable sticker book, so stickers and some tapes that I had left from other themes and empty sticker sheets, and I really enjoyed the process. I think it's a really fun idea to do with your leftover spreads because sometimes you want to use them but you don't really have any ideas for them, so this was very creative, trying to come up with different layouts for each spread and only using stuff that I had left over as well. You know, those little stickers that you won't use anywhere else. And even though I love filming my spreads, it was very relaxing just doing this for myself. So if I end up with some empty spreads at the end of this journal, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so now starting with the cover spread, I'm doing my favorite thing in the world, which is collages. I love using different papers and textures to build these backgrounds for the main stickers to sit on, and this was the same thing. I tried to use colors and textures that would match the aesthetic of this theme, so very deep and cool blues, purplish pinks from the paper with the snowflakes, and some papers with more neutral tones to balance things out. It looks very complicated, but it's actually quite simple. I just go with the flow, play around with the positions of everything before gluing them down, and if I don't like things, I move them around. Then, since the vinyl sticker is transparent, it blended a little bit with the background. So, to make it stand out a little more, I put it on a piece of white sticker paper, cut around it, and I'm putting it right on top of everything. So now, with the white border around the sticker, it pops a lot more. I decided to use this title sticker from Ikigai Papier since it matched the pink with purple undertones, and the size was really good as well to put below the main sticker. And now, before we continue to the other page, I'm going to show you some markers that I'm using in my monthly reviews, and they were kindly gifted to me by Arrtx. This is their new 60 color direct liquid ink acrylic markers. It comes in this beautiful and practical box with 4 layers of markers that you can move around however you like, and all of these are very bold and vibrant. They come with the label for each marker on the cap, so it's very easy to see which marker you want to use and not choosing the wrong color by accident. You just have to shake them before using, and you can actually see the color from the barrel. The smooth brush nib is very good for both fine outlining and quick coloring, since the nib is from 1 to 6 millimeters, and it's quite flexible, so you can really get into those tiny corners. It works well on various surfaces like wood, canvas, glass, etc., and they are very easy to layer and to blend. The high pigment water-based ink dries fast and resists smudging, so once it's dry, it's waterproof and durable on almost any surface, so no fading and no peeling. There's no better way to try out markers than swatching them on paper, so I'm using this mini A6 journal that I use for all my pens, markers and pencil swatches, and it has the same paper all my journals have, so I know the colors are going to stay consistent in any journal I use. I noticed that the colors turned out very vibrant, which was expected because any marker from Arrtx that I tried out before was very vibrant and bold, so I had those expectations, and it was very smooth. Even the lighter colors come up really well on the paper, and you can see the difference between each color, even those that have similar tones. I think the range of colors is really good. It has yellows, reds, pinks, purples, blues, greens, browns and greys, so you pretty much have all the colors you need. And if you need a specific color that's not in here, you can blend them to create that color. Honestly, I'm really satisfied with this marker set. I love the colors, I really like the ink, and even though I'm not going to use them for drawing in this video, since it's already quite obvious you can create beautiful art with these markers, I'm going to use them for other things that are more practical, and if you use them like me, it's life-changing. So stay tuned to see how I'm going to use them in my book reviews. And as always, I'm going to link everything related to Arrtx down below, and I don't have a discount code for you, but they always have some kind of deal on their website, so go check them out. And now let's go back to the cover spread. I'm just going to finish it with some snowflakes, and then on the left page I'm going to put the books and manga/manhwas I read in January. I think this type of layout of having the cover on the right and the reads on the left really works for this size of journal. I don't have to do an extra spread for my monthly reads, and since I don't quite know how long this journal is going to take me to fill, I'm trying to save space where I can. So for this one, I'm basically doing the same type of collage around the page, on the borders, and I'm decorating with more stickers because they are never enough. I was going to leave the middle empty, just with the white page below, but I remembered that I had this vellum paper that I got from a journal sale haul that's coming up next week, and it has this design that reminds me of ice, but the paper is pink, so I thought it would match really well with the theme, and it works as a background for the book covers. Honestly, in the end, I don't really love how it turned out. If I were to do it again, I wouldn't add this vellum paper, but it's okay, I'm only going to see this every once in a while, and it turned out cute anyway. And now for my monthly reads, I started with God of War by Rina Kent, the final book of the Legacy of God series, and I gave it 3.5 stars. Then I read Broken Whispers by Niva Altaj, and I gave it 4.5 stars. And finally Phantom by H.D. Carlton, which I gave 3.5 stars. Then for my manga/manhwas, I started rating with my new rating system, which I'm going to show you later on, and you guys had a very good idea to call it Peace. Thank you so much. And I read Secretary Jean's Confinement Journal, which I gave 4 stars, The Tainted Half with 4.5 stars, Diego with 4 stars, At This Rate We Can't Be Best Friends with 4 stars as well, Vampire Homeless with 4 stars, and I DNF'd Romance is Over the Door when I realized the romance was between a minor and an adult, which is a no-no. So I just put all the covers on the middle of the page, and I even thought of writing the dates I started and finished the books, but I did that in my initial setup, so I didn't really need that data twice, and I just wrote DNF on the manga that I did not finish. Then I started to put these tabs on the side of the journal. I don't really use tabs, but since I don't pick up my reading journal every day, I thought it was fine to put these tabs on this one instead of my bullet journal, which I use all the time. And that's because I'm worried that they may fall off, so in here it's a little more safe. And now let's flip the page and start the book reviews. And the first book I finished in January was God of War by Rina Kent. I started this book knowing that it probably wasn't going to be my favorite of the series because it has an amnesia plot, and I don't really like that. But in order to finish the series and because I was very curious about Ava and Eli's relationship, I decided to read it. So ever since Ava was rejected by Eli when she was a teenager, she started to hate him and the feeling was pretty much mutual. But a few years later, Ava wakes up in her hospital bed with no memory of the last 2 years, and according to Eli, they are married. Ava doesn't believe for a second that she married Eli by choice, so as she starts to unravel this new reality with twisted flashbacks, she does everything she can to get to the truth. Even though I don't like amnesia plots, this one was very interesting actually. I really liked that she remembers the people, just not the events, so it's not the typical amnesia plot. But the thing here was that I didn't like the characters. I mean, all of them. I think the cat and mouse game between them was the same all the time. Ava had the same ideas to get revenge on Eli, and the consequences were always the same as well. So it kind of went in circles, and I think the book could be shorter because of that. Also, this book contains themes about mental health issues, substance abuse, and suicidal thoughts, so this might not be the darkest book of the series, but it's much more darker in terms of mental health themes. I ended up liking Eli a little more after the plot twist where everything was explained, and the plot twist was really good. I just didn't connect much to the characters, and I think it was a common feeling that I saw among people online and on the book reviews. Plus, amnesia plots are not the favorites among book tropes, so it's understandable that this one is not the best of the series. Now, a little bit about the decoration I'm using. I'm using the marker from the Arrtx set that I showed you earlier to color in these gothic alphabet silicone stamps. I've been using these ones on all the Legacy of Gods book reviews, so it's a way to stay consistent across all the books, even with different decorations and colors. I really liked the vibrancy of the color. Sometimes the color doesn't transfer really well to the paper, but it actually worked on this one, and it's a good color match to the book cover, which ties all the pinks on the page together. The next Rina Kent series I'm picking up is the Villain Trilogy, with the first one called Kiss the Villain, which is an romance, so I'm really excited because I loved God of Fury. And now for the quote I chose. "You're a beautiful mythical being who can be born from the ashes of your illness." Which I think resumes quite nicely the theme and plot of the book because it's really focused on mental health and the impact of that in everyone's life. Rina Kent really comes up with interesting plots on dark romance books, so maybe in the future I get to read all of the series because I know she has a lot of them, and they are mostly interconnected with some characters, I think, so I'll do my research and I have all 2026 to do that. Moving on to the next book, we have Broken Whispers by Niva Altaj. This is the second book of the Perfectly Imperfect series. It's a mafia romance series, and honestly, with a mafia plot, you can never go wrong. I love mafia romance, and I think I'm in that phase again. So this one was very surprising because I didn't love the first book. I liked it, but it wasn't the best. But this one was such a good surprise. I didn't read about it, not even the blurb, so I went blind and I'm really glad I did it. So, the Italian and the Russian mafias are at war, and to make sure it doesn't escalate, the decision is to merge both worlds with a marriage between the two sides. To save her little sister from a caged, married life to a monster, Bianca doesn't have a choice, so she's the one to tie the knots. And when Mikhail discovers that it's Bianca who's the bride, he offers himself to be the groom. And for Bianca's surprise, Mikhail is everything she ever wanted, a way to escape her family and marry the man of her dreams. I loved Mikhail, he's a tough guy with a heart of gold. Bianca is amazing, I had such a great time with her, and she's mute actually, which made the interactions between the two of them really interesting. This is not a spoiler since it happens right at the beginning, but we know that Mikhail is obsessed with Bianca. She's a ballerina and he watches every time she performs. But we don't really know how he became so obsessed, so I was really glad when it was explained later on. Mikhail is also a single dad, which I didn't expect, but it was really wholesome and the action was also really good. I just didn't give this one 5 stars because of one thing that happens at the plot twist that it wasn't addressed later, and it really pissed me off because it was a member of the family. If you read, you will know. So 4 and 5 stars, but 5-star vibes for sure. For the quote, I chose one that Mikhail says in Russian, but I'll say it the translated version because I'm pretty sure I'm not able to say it in Russian. You are a ray of light in a cloudy day. I really love how Mikhail treats Bianca. He's for sure a green flag all the way, and I've seen my fair share of really bright red flags, so trust me. If you want to read a mafia romance with arranged marriage, this is perfect for you, and it's not very long, so it's a very easy read. So easy that I stopped reading Phantom, which is the next one I'm doing, to read this book, so it's really good in my opinion. Moving on, we have the final book I read this month before we start my manga part of the reviews, and this one is Phantom by H.T. Carlton. If you follow me for a while, you know that I love Hunting Adeline. It was one of the first dark romances I read and I fell in love with the genre, so I expected a lot from this book, which is the prequel to Hunting Adeline. If you read the Cat and Mouse duet, you are familiar with Gigi or Genevieve. She's the great-grandmother of Adeline, if I'm not mistaken, and Phantom is about Gigi and Ronaldo, her stalker. This book is set in the World War I time, in 1944, and it follows the life of Genevieve as a housewife. She lives in Parsons Manor, the one Adeline lives years later, and she's living a happy married life to John and her daughter Sarah. What Genevieve doesn't know is that John is in debt to the mafia, and that's why Ronaldo arrives to Parsons Manor to scare John a little bit. But the plan goes sideways when his sights land on the beautiful woman inside the house, John's wife, Genevieve. And the first reaction she has towards Ronaldo is not fear, but intrigue and curiosity, which actually scares her the most. This book plot is based on cheating, which I don't like at all, but the setting and the thinking of that time are very different from now, so I get the decisions that were made. I didn't really love the time jumps, it was confusing at times. I liked the mafia plot, and some scenes were like a deja vu because hunting Adeline is almost like a mirror. But I think Ronaldo is much more of a gangster than a stalker. The vibes are just not the same. Gigi went through a lot, so I sympathize with her, but I liked Ronaldo much more. So overall, a little bit of a disappointment. For the quote I chose, do you have any idea how hard it is to only love you in the dark when you deserve to be loved in the light? Which you can already tell that this is the perfect quote to describe this book. Okay, and now let's start my manga slash manhwas pages with Secretary Jin's confinement journal. But before we begin, let me show you how I changed my rating system. So before, instead of environment, I had world building, which made the acronym PACE-U. But I didn't really love it, so I asked you guys for help in the comments, and one of you guys told me to change world building to environment and change the positions of the letters. So now the acronym is PEACE, which is so much better. You guys are geniuses, and that's why I love this community. Now going back to the story, Jin Yu Yeon fell asleep. But when he opened his eyes, he realized that he became one of the main characters in the famous BL novel Miserable Confinement, which you would think would be total panic just trying to get back to your own world, but Jin is right where he wants to be. Because his ideal type, the sadist protagonist of the novel, Kwon Lee Chin, is keeping him in captivity, which is pretty much Jin's dream. This might seem like every other isekai story, but you guys, the plot twist made my jaw drop. It was so unexpected, it was so good, and it made so much sense. Incredible, really. And what seems like a pretty toxic relationship and plot, it's not really what it seems. And it was pretty refreshing seeing both main characters have consensual time. Most of the times it's more of a consensual, non-consensual type of thing, but in here both sides are unhinged, and it was actually pretty funny seeing Jin's thoughts and feelings because you just don't expect the captive to be where he wants to be. So it was really unique and I really loved the story. I didn't have a lot of ideas for the decorations for this page, so I went with basic flower stickers that fit the colors of the characters and the cover, and for the title I tried to replicate the font that appeared on the title inside the chapters with a beige marker. And that's it for this manhwa, so let's continue on to my first non-BL romance in a while. This one is called The Tainted Half, and the story goes: two brothers, one concubine. Seola's face was disfigured by her mother, who sought to deny the emperor his prize, the most beautiful concubine in the world. Now forced to endure a lifetime of abuse, Seola can only pin her hopes on Muon, the emperor's twin brother. But is he really someone she can trust? This is one of the best historical romances I've read so far, and it's not very long. It has 40 chapters, and the way the story has so many layers and it's so deep, it's really thought-provoking and quite sad and funny at times. But the way everything came together in the end was really heartwarming, and I really loved the story. I expected it to be very tragic because of a story with a similar setting that I read before, but I was surprised that everything was well explained in only 40 chapters, including backstories for the main characters, explaining the curse and the royal bloodline. I really like historical manhwas. I don't enjoy historical books, but I like mangas and manhwas with this setting, but most of the times they end up being quite tragic or just not such of a happy ending as we wanted, but this one really surpassed my expectations and the art is really beautiful. For the title, I decided to stamp it with the Arrtx markers as well, and they worked really well, both on the silicone stamps that I used in God of War and in these wooden stamps, so you have a pretty good range of colors to use with your stamps. And also I used the markers in the Phantom title and they were very vibrant on the page. For the black paper I used my other acrylic markers from Arrtx that I reviewed in another video and they color match perfectly. Let's continue to the next manhwa, that is Diego. Veteran Jaden, the one that has dark hair, is suffering from severe PTSD after losing his crush Matthew during their deployment in the war a few years ago. He has been trying really hard to return to his everyday life, but the pain isn't getting any better. So one day he decides to give up on everything and leaves for a trip without a plan. When Jaden reaches his unplanned destination, he happens to meet Diego, a man who looks remarkably similar to Matthew, and his attraction to him begins to grow. I think the plot on this one is very unique, at least I haven't come across anything similar and I think it was very good. The only thing is that at the end I'm not really sure if it's with Diego because he is Diego or if he is with him because he's pretty much a copy of Matthew. But overall it was a very cute story with a tragic past, but it has very good development on the characters, and Diego is such a golden retriever, he's a whole damn forest at this point, and I really liked Jaden as well. Moving on to the next spread, we have the manga, At This Rate We Can't Be Best Friends. Minamino was supposed to share a room with a friend, but because of a sudden cancellation, she was at a loss. So Kitazawa, her best friend, offered her a place to live. He is a handsome man and everything between them was always very easygoing. From the moment they met, they hit it off right away. It was special and comforting to Minamino that he remained her best friend, even after she graduated. As long as they stay friends and keep a good distance, she'll be fine, or that's what she thought. This one is very short with only 4 chapters and it's pretty much smut, but the actual story is very cute. Both of the characters are very down to earth and not toxic at all, and the relationship between them is really healthy. It's a cliché with being roommates, but it's a cliché for a reason, because it works, and I had a very good time reading this one. For the decoration I used 2 different packs of flower stickers, one that had a mix between blue and purple, and the other that is a more grey deep blue, to kinda match the colors on the manga cover. And then for the title, since it was a long one, I decided to use my alphabet stickers in white. I could write the title, but I wanted it to be kinda small, so it wouldn't take away from the flowers and the manga panels on the center, so I decided to go with the stickers. Moving on to the right page, we have the final manhwa and the final page of this setup, which is for Vampire Homeless. Awakened after a long sleep, Vampire Isle loses his home and becomes homeless. Taking refuge at Johan's house, he uses his uncanny wine-tasting skills to sniff out counterfeit bottles while slowly uncovering the memories of a past he thought was lost. Okay, this one seems a little weird, but Isle doesn't actually know Johan. He literally just ended up there at his house because he was hungry for blood. And Johan has a business of wine, so when he discovers that Isle can uncover the counterfeit ones, he decided to let him live there. It was actually a very good and unique plot. I liked both characters. I love vampire stories. They were very interesting and layered. It almost broke my heart, but then it all worked out in the end. So it was all a happy ending. One of the reasons I love vampire stories is that I get to use this blood drops PET tape. And for this one, I also used a new tape that I'm also going to show you in the stationery haul next week. Is this spider lily, my favorite flower, and it matches perfectly with this red theme. And that's it for this entire setup. It's time for the final flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give a like, subscribe, and comment down below a snowflake emoji to let me know you watched it till the end. I love how this turned out, especially because it's my first time doing my monthly reviews in this square size, so it was a very good experience and I'm loving it. Don't forget to check out Arrtx. Again, I'll leave all the links down below in the description box and see what they have to offer. They have a bunch of other markers and sketchbooks as well that I also reviewed before, so go check them out. I didn't show you, but I finished the Legacy of God series and the Cat and Mouse series as well. I updated my series tracker in my reading journal update short, so let me know if you finished any book series this year. I'm really excited because I'm picking up posting regularly in my Instagram and TikTok with more book content and a sprinkle of bullet journal, so follow me as well in there. I hope you have a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!